Many significant news stories from the past few years, like the questionable police action in Quebec, Ontario, and BC, might never have been brought to public attention without the contributions of regular citizens. The internet has opened the floodgate on citizen journalism by allowing easy production and distribution of amateur news and event coverage on a global scale. In the digital age, professional journalists and news corporations are no longer the sole source for reporting and commentary. As Harvard's Shane Bowman and Chris Willis see it, for the first time in history, the dominance of the journalism profession as gatekeepers of the news is threatened not just by the internet, but by the audience it serves. In the modern, always-on world, citizens everywhere are meeting on the net in never-before-seen ways to set the news agenda and inform each other about both local and global issues. This short documentary will explore the value of online citizen journalism in expanding the public sphere and challenging corporate news perspectives, messages, and meanings.
Jay Rosen, professor of journalism at NYU, defines citizen journalism as
when the people, formerly known as the audience, employ the press tools in their possession to inform one another, that's citizen journalism. Got it?
For the purpose of this documentary, we're considering any form of online news content that is produced outside of traditional news media, from CNN to the Globe and Mail. This may take any form of news blogs, whether they're by academics like U of O professor Michael Geist, or just that guy you saw on the bus. This also includes different types of independent news sites, like the Drudge Report or the Huffington Post, or not-for-profit sites hosting user-generated content like Oh My News.
The free press is traditionally seen as a vital element of democracy, serving an important role in keeping people informed and acting as a watchdog to keep governments and institutions accountable. Some communication theorists, however, do not think corporate media perform this function. According to Noam Chomsky's propaganda model, the social role of corporate media is to promote and defend the economic, political, and social agenda of society's elite. Chomsky argues that the ownership and profit orientation of major media corporations shape media content and influence news production. Along the same line, economist John Kenneth Galbraith argued that the media ensures that consumers adopt values and beliefs that meet the needs of the economy. And when the economy operates as a belief system, it puts severe limits on a consumer's free choice. More recently, American media critic Robert McChesney has argued that the corporate media system is anti-democratic, that concentrated corporate control of the media system is disastrous for any concept of democratic participation. It isn't hard to spot some of these problems with big media companies. The recent economic crisis has caused massive cutbacks and layoffs by media outlets across the continent. When it comes down to the wire, corporate news will always sacrifice production quality to improve their profit margins. And the firing of Ottawa Citizen publisher Russell Mills in 2002 by CanWest Global over an editorial critical of the Prime Minister is a blatant example of direct, top-down corporate control of newsrooms.
Can citizen journalism help restore balance to a news system that many theorists see as compromised by capitalism? As Professor Michael Strangelove discusses in his book, The Empire of Mind, online citizen journalism provides a means of resisting the hegemony of corporate news. Online, citizen journalists are free of marketplace constraints and produce meaning outside of the capitalist belief system. Those who control production control meanings. The internet enables the public to reinterpret privately owned messages and meanings. In 2006, the Pew Internet and American Life Project estimated that around 12 million American adults maintained blogs, and placed the number of U.S. blog readers at about 57 million adults, or 39% of the U.S. online population. Though these numbers aren't a measure of citizen journalism, they do show the prevalence of one of its main platforms. There are many thousands of news blogs providing a huge diversity of alternative perspectives and opinions.
Online citizen journalists also perform an important function of watchdogs and fact-checkers of corporate news media. Many bloggers make it their business to correct and criticize the stories that the traditional media present to the public. When CBS's Dan Rather presented documents on 60 Minutes, questioning George W. Bush's military record, bloggers were quick to discredit the story. It was American blogger Charles Johnson who showed how the pages supposedly from 1973, written on a typewriter, appeared to have been created in Microsoft Word. As American journalist and blogger Dan Gilmore wrote in his book, We the Media, the rich and powerful are discovering new vulnerabilities, as their former audience is not only finding news alternatives online, but are becoming an active participant in collective anti-corporate conversation.
Robert McChesney discounts the value of amateur online news, saying the internet will eventually come to be dominated by the usual corporate suspects. This idea supports what is known as the normalization thesis, which states that the internet will evolve into a predominantly commercial media system, the same way print, radio, and television did. But Michael Strangelove rejects this thinking. He argues that proponents of the normalization thesis underestimate the amount of participation, the volume of production, and the quality of this new form of news. At the same time, they overestimate the ability of the commercial sector to extend control over the online production and consumption of news.
We personally find it hard to believe, considering the current freedom of expression online, that corporate media can ever fully control the flow of information on the internet. We find it far more likely that blogging, chatting, and posting will become a permanent part of the online environment.
Jürgen Habermas's concept of the public sphere requires public communication that includes arguments based on an expertise that doesn't come for free. We concede that there will always be a place for professional journalism and the mainstream media. But as long as corporate news continues to be bound to elite interest in a capitalist belief system, citizen journalism will also have its place in a free and democratic society.
American journalist David Simon attacks the idea of citizen journalists, saying that a neighbor who cares about people in the community is simply a good neighbor, not a citizen social worker. But the way we see it, the world could use more good neighbors, and the democratic public sphere could use more citizen journalists, flexing their collective, non-corporate muscles through the power of the internet.